Alex Eala has reached a new career high of world number 28 in the Women's Tennis Association rankings.
Alex Eala has officially reached a new career high ranking of world number 28 in the WTA rankings. Just days earlier, Aryna Sabalenka walked off center court after a stunning straight sets loss to Naomi Osaka in the fourth round of Wimbledon. It was Sabalenka's first straight set defeat at a Grand Slam since 2020, marking one of the toughest losses of her career on grass. 48 hours later, while the tennis world was still reacting to Sabalenka's early exit, the Bank of the Philippine Islands shared a simple message on Facebook that immediately captured the attention of Filipino tennis fans. Rising higher. Alongside those two words was a photo of 21-year-old Alex Eala, celebrating her new career high ranking of world number 28 after an unforgettable Wimbledon campaign that carried her one round further than the world's number one. The timing was impossible to ignore. Within hours, social media exploded with celebrations, debates, and predictions about Eala's future. Tennis fans around the world began asking a question that suddenly didn't seem impossible anymore. Could Alex Eala be ranked above Aryna Sabalenka by this time next year? At first glance, it sounds like a bold prediction. But after everything that happened at Wimbledon, it's a conversation many people are willing to have. By now, you've probably seen the highlights. You already know that on July 4th, Alex Eala produced one of the biggest victories of her young career, defeating defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek 7-6, 6-2 on center court. It was a performance filled with fearless shot-making, remarkable composure, and the confidence of a player ready for the biggest stage. Her remarkable run eventually ended 3 days later in a hard-fought fourth-round battle against Jasmine Paolini. Eala pushed one of the tour's most consistent players to the limit before falling 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 in a match that showcased both her talent and her determination. Although the defeat ended her Wimbledon journey, it did little to diminish what she had accomplished. For many observers, that tournament marked the moment Alex Eala announced herself as a genuine contender on the WTA Tour. What many people may have missed, however, was the deeper significance behind the Bank of the Philippine Islands message. The post wasn't simply celebrating a ranking milestone. It carried a much broader message, dedicating Eala's achievement to every young Filipino girl chasing a dream, encouraging the next generation to believe that they, too, could reach the highest levels of international sport. That transformed the moment from a tennis achievement into something much larger, a symbol of national pride and inspiration. Meanwhile, across the media room at Wimbledon, Aryna Sabalenka faced reporters after her surprising defeat. According to post-match coverage, Sabalenka credited Naomi Osaka for playing exceptional tennis and acknowledged that her opponent had simply been the better player that day. There were no dramatic excuses, only the honest assessment of a champion who had been outplayed. As attention shifted toward Alex Eala's breakthrough and her rapidly rising profile, the contrast between one player's disappointing exit and another's remarkable rise became one of the tournament's defining storylines. Whether Alex Eala can eventually climb above Aryna Sabalenka in the rankings remains impossible to predict. Reaching world number one requires sustained excellence across an entire season, and Sabalenka remains one of the strongest competitors in women's tennis. But one thing is already clear. Alex Eala is no longer viewed as simply a promising young talent. She has become one of the fastest rising stars in women's tennis, and after Wimbledon, the entire tennis world is watching to see just how high she can climb. Start with what the Bank of the Philippine Islands actually did. BPI has backed Alex Eala since January 2023. It celebrated her when she first broke into the world's top 100 and again as she climbed to world number 73. But after Wimbledon, the bank didn't issue another routine congratulatory statement. Instead, it posted two simple words: rising higher. Next to those words was a photo of a smiling 21-year-old Alex Eala, now ranked a career-high world number 28. It was more than a sponsor celebrating an athlete. It felt like one of the Philippines' oldest and largest financial institutions was celebrating a national moment. The timing made the message even more powerful. On July 4th, Alex Eala stepped onto center court and produced the biggest victory of her career, defeating reigning Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek 7-6, 6-2. It wasn't a lucky draw. It wasn't an injury retirement. It wasn't a one-set collapse. She defeated one of the world's very best players in straight sets on the surface, where Swiatek arrived as the defending champion. Moments like that do more than improve a ranking. They announced the arrival of a new contender. Now look at how the week unfolded. On July 4th, Eala stunned the defending Wimbledon champion. On July 6th, world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka suffered a surprising fourth-round defeat to Naomi Osaka. One day later, Eala's remarkable Wimbledon run came to an end in a three-set battle against Jasmine Paolini, but she still finished the tournament having advanced one round further than the top-ranked player in the world. Soon afterward, BPI shared its now viral, Rising Higher message. In the span of just a few days, the conversation around women's tennis changed dramatically. For Filipino fans who had been supporting Alex Eala since her breakthrough performances the previous season, Wimbledon became the tournament that validated years of belief. They now had undeniable evidence. A career-high ranking, a Grand Slam breakthrough, a straight-set victory over the defending Wimbledon champion, and a place among the biggest stories of the tournament. That combination naturally sparked comparisons with the established stars at the top of the rankings. Aryna Sabalenka's own post-match comments after major defeats have often generated headlines. Following her loss to Coco Gauff in the 2026 Roland Garros final, Sabalenka said she believed the result was influenced largely by her own mistakes rather than Gauff playing an extraordinary match, comments that were widely reported and discussed throughout the tennis world. Whether fans agreed with those remarks or criticized them, they became part of the wider conversation about how elite champions respond when rising stars begin challenging the established order. Now, with Alex Eala climbing rapidly through the rankings and producing some of the biggest wins of her career, that conversation has taken on an entirely new dimension. The question is no longer whether Eala belongs among the sport's elite. The only question now is how much higher she can climb. Sabalenka later reflected on her Roland Garros comments and publicly acknowledged that they were, in her own words, completely unprofessional. She apologized, bringing an end to a controversy that had dominated tennis headlines for days. That episode now provides important context whenever conversations turn to the sport's newest stars. As Alex Eala's rise accelerated, tennis fans naturally began comparing her momentum with the established names at the top of the game. During Wimbledon, one discussion on Reddit's r/tennis captured the mood of many fans with a widely shared comment suggesting that Sabalenka had underestimated how quickly public opinion could shift toward one of the sport's fastest rising young players. Whether people agreed or disagreed, it reflected just how much attention Eala was generating throughout the tournament. The conversation wasn't limited to social media. Former ADP World number 21 Steve Johnson, speaking on the Nothing Major podcast alongside former top professionals John Isner, Sam Querrey, and Jack Sock, argued that Alex Eala had become one of the biggest commercial stories in women's tennis. His point wasn't about rankings, it was about visibility, fan engagement, and the excitement surrounding a player whose popularity was growing at an extraordinary pace. That matters because former players spend their careers watching how stars emerge. When respected veterans begin talking about a young player as one of the sport's biggest attractions, people notice. Around the same time, respected tennis journalist Ben Rothenberg highlighted Eala's Wimbledon breakthrough as one of the defining stories of the tournament, reinforcing the idea that her success was resonating far beyond the Philippines. Taken together, those reactions suggested something important. The rankings measure points. The conversation measures influence. Sometimes those two things move at different speeds. For Southeast Asia, Eala's achievement represents a historic milestone. No player from the region had previously established herself as a consistent presence among the WTA's elite in quite the same way. Every ranking milestone carries significance not only for her career, but also for tennis across the region. At the same time, major Philippine companies, including longtime sponsor BPI, have increasingly embraced Eala as a symbol of sporting excellence and national pride. She is no longer simply promoting products. She represents the growing global ambitions of Philippine tennis. Now the tour shifts to North America. The Canadian Open, Cincinnati, then the US Open. Those tournaments will provide Eala with another opportunity to earn valuable ranking points against the world's best players. Whether she breaks into the top 20 will depend entirely on her performances over the coming months. The opportunity is there, but so is the challenge, as every player at the top of the rankings will be chasing the same prize. What makes Eala stand out isn't simply her victories. It's the way she responds after defeat. Her Wimbledon run ended in a 3-set battle against Jasmine Paolini. After taking the opening set, Eala couldn't quite finish the match, eventually falling in 3 hard-fought sets. Yet in her post-match press conference, there were no excuses. Instead, she focused on gratitude and the bigger picture, saying it would be the honor of my life to inspire others. That perspective resonated with fans back home. While she was still processing the disappointment of leaving Wimbledon, the Bank of the Philippine Islands shared its now famous "Rising Higher" message, reminding the country that one defeat could not overshadow everything she had accomplished during those remarkable 2 weeks. From childhood dreams on neighborhood courts, to defeating a reigning Wimbledon champion on center court, to reaching a career-high ranking, Alex Eala has already written one of the most compelling stories in tennis this season. Which brings us back to the question everyone is asking. Will Alex Eala be ranked higher than Aryna Sabalenka 1 year from now? No one can answer that with certainty. Rankings are earned over an entire season, and Sabalenka remains one of the strongest and most accomplished players in the world. But what Wimbledon proved is that Eala belongs in the conversation with the very best. The next chapter begins with the North American hardcourt swing, the Canadian Open, Cincinnati, and then the US Open. By the end of those tournaments, we'll have a much clearer picture of just how high Alex Eala's remarkable rise can go.